miles down the road. You may probably not need the clerical person, one custodian, it just all depends. But then you do save the electricity and the upkeep on the facility. But consolidation, the personnel in like grade levels is where the savings comes with consolidation.
Any questions from Ms. Penny on that? If not, I'll move to second to last issue. That deals with new construction. And much like combining non-like schools, consolidation or new construction would have a similar effect, but you're actually talking about a new facility that allows for all sorts of expansion, all sorts of reconfiguration of redistricting of current students. But what I want to share with you is what I see as the possibilities of how you pay for new school construction. The biggest issue that we have as taxpayers in Bladen County is how we pay for something. And that has to come to us as taxpayers. But we have to figure out, do we want to make that kind of investment in our children? And as a taxpayer, I'm certainly ready and willing to do that. But it does come with revenue, or what we call debt service. And I have for you item D, to kind of give you an idea of some of the things that I think will be available as it relates to debt service and new construction. And when we look at available revenue, if you look at the schools that could possibly be consolidated in some form or fashion, there's an immediate amount that you would see that's a part of cost of running that facility on utility costs. Now, as with anything, if those buildings remain, as long as they're owned by the district, there's going to be some level of upkeep that we have to maintain. So you wouldn't necessarily see that full $290,000 that would go towards debt service. The next section, where you see debt service in 6, 7, 8, 9, in 2018, 19, 20, and 21. That is the debt that we owe on the current high school that we have now. That payment is about $2.1 million and has been reducing over time. The school district pays $900,000 of that. It is not a reducing amount. The county commissioners were paying $1.1 million, and their amount reduced over the term of that debt. So as you see, when you get to the latter years of that debt service, the majority of that is paid by the school district. Now, if at some point we were able to retire that debt, or the county commissioners make a decision about eliminating the remaining balance, then that means that roughly $2.1 million now becomes free. That $900,000 that the school district gets is a part of the sales tax revenue that we get to maintain all of our facilities. So we do still have facility needs that we would need to address, and we'd have to have questions about what we would want to put towards new facilities. So with that being said, there are a number of revenue possibilities. The first being a performance contract that we have that's about $251,000 a year. It's about, I want to say 8 or 10 years ago, Ms. Penny, you correct me if I'm wrong. But this was the ability to go in and retrofit lights in the building, and we actually saved quite a bit through that retrofitting. We're down to the last payment of $251,000, which will be done, and that money will be freed up. We also have the availability of using lottery funding to put towards the retirement of debt on a school facility. The lottery funding, depending on how we play as citizens, I don't necessarily play the lottery, so I'm reading everything from me. But those numbers could range from $250,000 a year as high as $500,000 a year. That varies from time to time. So I think if we made a commitment to do $250,000 out of the lottery proceeds, then I think that would be a safe amount. Ms. Penny, you might want to share what is the balance of our lottery capital fund, and if you have it with you, you may want to give some information about how the revenue has ebbed and flowed over the past few years.
Right now, we have completed all of the projects that we have used lottery money for, the last being the cooler, freezer over at Clarkton, okay? Our balance right now is $1,523,000. So far this year, they have credited our account with $112,426. $36,210 was put in July for the quarter ending June 30th, and $76,216 was put in November for the quarter ending September 30th. Those figures are down from the previous year. We have actually been averaging I'm going to 2011-12, we are averaging, I'm going to say, $330,000 a year. If the trend continues for this year, we may get $225,000. We have been as high as $856,000, and this year's, if these figures are any indication of what we're going to get this year, then it will be our lowest year at about, I'm guessing, $220,000.
So that kind of gives you an idea of what the lottery funding looks like and what kind of tolerance the board would have in terms of putting money towards debt service. Where you see capital BCS, as I told you, we have the $900,000 that we put towards retiring the debt with the high school. If that debt is paid off or eliminated through whatever mechanism the board, the commissioners would want to do, you have that $900,000 that's now free. I would recommend that you only put about $500,000 of that towards debt service of new facilities, because we still have other issues that we need to address. We know that we've got high school roofs that are approaching 15 and 16 years, so you're probably talking $350,000 or more to replace those roofs. You heard Mr. Lee talk about the shillage. You heard him talk about the other issues that we have. So we've got to be able to have room to do those other things. With the $1.1 million that the county commissioners would have, they will be willing to put $750,000 towards debt service. And based on numbers with utility cost savings, we could look at something in that $200,000 range. Now you're talking about not doing essentially anything that's vastly different than what we're doing, and having about $1.9 million that will be available for debt service. So cost that out over X number of years, it'll tell you how much money you'd be able to put towards new buildings. The great thing about new buildings is that it's a footprint that's there for an extended period of time, 30, 40, 50 years. The latest facilities for kids that we know that they deserve. And it's the same as, in my opinion, if you consolidated a building versus building new construction. So that's kind of the idea of what you would have for debt service. So on the next page, I'm going to share with you some ideas about new school construction. This is item 2. And these numbers can vary greatly. And I'll look at share another item in a minute that will kind of give you an idea of what we're talking about. So we're talking about a K-8 building of 500 students. These building has roughly 8,000 square feet. Now, the problem with square footage is that when it comes to the cost per square foot, that can vary based on the amount of construction that's taking place at the time, all sorts of things with the economy. So you could be looking at anywhere from $180 to $265 a square foot. So with that being said, an 80,000 square foot building could run anywhere from $14.4 million to $21.2 million. Then you look at the cost per square foot for furniture and technology, percentage that's going to have to be done for surveys and testing, 5% contingency for things that may overrun. So you could, on the low end, and that's a very conservative estimate of about $19.5 million, as high as $28 million. And then you see the same kind of numbers for a K-8 building with For 600 students, it's about 91,000 square feet. And then what would be a very large K-8 building for 800 students, 112,000 square feet, you see those same numbers. So when you begin to look at the bottom, the kind of combinations that you can do, a 500 and a 600K, a 500 and 800, or 600 and 800, you can look at any different number of combinations that you want, and then you will see what that would cost in terms of new construction. The next page, item F, because I wanted the board to understand that if there's a possibility of being able to construct new buildings, then that might be a better, more viable option than consolidating buildings to where essentially the savings is nil, but you're still in those buildings. You're able to free that data, build new buildings. Now you're talking about building a new building in Tar Heel, building a new building in Clarkton, doubling the age of the building is actually in pretty good condition. But now you have the opportunity for communities to have new buildings in that community for the next 40 or 50 years. And then pretty much for the same that you would be doing if you consolidated and put kids in another building. Yes, sir.
Are you going to present the same information at the forum?
What I would do is present all the information about school consolidation that I know is the public needs to hear. So yes, I will present that information, but it will also be able to give the community an opportunity to ask questions, because those are the things that we really need to hear from them, because we've had the opportunity to talk as administration and board, but we've never had the opportunity for the public to give real feedback. So yes, I would share that information, because I think that's something that they would definitely want to hear. So, if you look at item F, and this is the same thing again, the numbers that are giving you a little granular detail of other things that you have to consider when you look at a building. So, the first one is for 80,000 square feet, 91,000, and 112,000. So, you got to deal with things such as surveying and boring, construction commissioning, special inspection, all of those things that are part of what you have to do. Depending on if you decided to construct a school on existing property, then you may or may not have to purchase land. The same thing comes with water, sewer, things of that nature. If you have current utilities that you can hook into, then those are costs that you don't have to incur. Then you have to make a decision about furniture and equipment, and then other soft costs that are overruns. So this gives you an idea of what a possible cost could be, around $30 million, depending on the kind of furniture you want to put in the building, the kind of technology you want to put in the building, the kind of material that you want to use in the facility. So that is an idea of how you can have that fluctuating cost between 22, 23, 24 million versus a $30 million building. You have the same thing for those other size buildings. So that gives you an idea of what new construction would cost. So with that being stated, 1.9 million being able to go towards new construction without the county commission or the school district really doing anything different. The commissioners would certainly have to make a decision about if they would provide additional funding if you decided to construct two schools that went beyond what $1.9 million would pay. So that's kind of an idea of what we have. In my opinion, this is something that I think the board should consider seriously, because it's an opportunity to still have school buildings within communities, but also have new facilities that can also be expanded for any kind of configuration that the board will do in the future. And finally, I did want to provide a copy of the general statute requirement. This is what governs how the board moves forward. Just something for you to be able to review. And with that, I'll stop, and I will give the board an opportunity to ask mere administration questions. I certainly want the board to begin to dialogue among themselves and with administration about your thoughts. And then at that point, we'll have a more solid direction of where we want to see our plan back.
Board members, what thoughts would you share with us?
Dr. Taylor, we were mentioning an open forum for the community to be able to tell us what they think and everything, but before we even go there, and I might have a cart before, should we not present this before the county commissioners and get their take on it first before we even bring this to them, because the county commissioners say, no, at this time, we're not able to do this, so why get the community all in a sort before that, because it might be null and void anyhow.
I agree with that assessment, that this is something that we do definitely need to share with the commission, get their input. I've had talks with the commissioner chair, where he asked me that, you get some numbers together and you bring them to them, and they'll take a look at them. So I think you're absolutely right, that I think our next thing needs to be to have that conversation with the commissioners to see what is their tolerance for looking at taking on additional debt for middle school buildings. Now, if we don't have their blessing, we can certainly have a community forum with our citizens, and they can give us input. They certainly may decide to go to the commission and say, look, we want you guys to get behind those school facilities. We think our kids deserve it. But I agree with you 100% that I think our next step should be, we got numbers. We need to know what your thinking is as a commissioner board. Absolutely.
And you're saying there's new construction really isn't going to be possible until after 2021?
No. If you look at moving into a new building, you'll start paying that debt once you move in. So, best case scenario, manna falls out the sky and the commissioners give us everything that we want. The earliest we'd be in a building would be 2019, because we take about 24 months, give or take, to get into that building. And then if you look at the debt service, at that point, depending what we still on about it.
No, 1.4.
So that would be 2.2 million. So that would be the question that the commissioners would have to make, that, we pay that debt off, and that frees up everything. Because really at that point, majority of that would be on the board. Year number 8, they'd only be paying $500,000. And the last year would all be on the board. So my request would be that if you take that route, that they'd have to make a decision about how they would deal with that debt. And I've had kind of some insight on that. That's something that some may be willing to do, but as we know, it's 9 commissioners and 4 new ones. So we'd have to figure out what their tolerance will be. So you're absolutely right. You would have to make a decision about paying that remaining portion off of 2.2. Yes, sir.
What would be the possibility of one of those buildings built in Clarkton?
I'll go back to what I said before, that's the starting point, that my opinion is that the community would not get behind losing the building. So my thinking would be, you put that building in Clarkton. One of the things that we had talked about was sort of a central location between East Arcadia and Clarkton, where you would have the ability to be able to bring East Arcadia into that building and have a building that would serve all the kids in that community.
I guess it's no secret that I'm in favor of keeping a school in Clarkton. And, the consolidation, I can go with the consolidation of Booker T. Washington and Clarkton schools. But my vote is going to be for a school to stay in Clarkton.
Absolutely.
And I want us to do all we can to do that.
Right.
And it doesn't have anything to do with who's here, or that just, that I've been involved with a lot of changes in that part of the county, and I live in an area where I have children, grandchildren that would be bused a little too far Then there are some people that will look at moving over to Columbus County and transferring to other systems. We don't want to lose any more students, but that's the way I feel. And I'll be remiss if I didn't.
Well, I'm hoping that we each feel that. That's kind of not taking anything away from what you said, but shouldn't the commissioners know what the county folk want? Is there a way that we can?
I agree, and I think that whenever we began, they started letting their voice know. But I don't think that it takes a forum. I think from here, they hear what is on the board. They see what we're looking at. Now it's time for them to start talking, so that whenever we do present this to the county commissioners already heard from some of them. And if it's heard from some of them, they know that more is going to come.
So you're telling me and the folk today that we need to start talking to the county commissioners right now?
Now is when we need to start talking, because every day we wait, every year we wait, we know that square foot is going to go up. It's not going to get any cheaper to build. But I do, since I'm talking about this, I want to try to make something clear, especially about East Arcadia. And maybe I've missed something here, but I did not think that we were talking about closing East Arcadia. Now, you said something about the new facility being built in Clarkton. I thought we were going to keep the K-5 maybe, or K-6 in East Arcadia, because that is too far to bus those small kids. And maybe bring the 7th and 8th graders in to give them the opportunity to have band, to give them the opportunity to be able to play football, softball, and basketball, things that they don't have now because they don't have the numbers to support it. But are we still there?
You're correct, because we had a couple of things that we had on the table. We were strictly talking about consolidation. That is where one of those things would be to make East Arcadia K-5, and then you have a large number of students that live just in the council area and beyond that would be K-5 that can then go to East Arcadia, and their enrollment would actually stay the same and be slightly higher. Then at one point when we were talking about the new construction, that was the idea of where we would put the building. That was a thought of making it the central location in council, to where you could bring all of those kids together. There was a talk of putting it in Clarkton, which many felt was too far for the East Arcadia kids. So when we just talked strictly consolidation, East Arcadia would become K-5, and the middle school kids, those 35 to 40, so would come to the other school, and we'd save on those 4 teachers that we would have. So the idea would still be to have East Arcadia.
I got a couple of questions. How much money did we just spend on the roof on Booker T?
$220,000.
I mean, I would like to see like a projection of what we're going to spend on all the schools in the next 5 years.
Ms. Evans, that's a very good suggestion, and we'll be able to pull those numbers together. You know, Mr. Nealon has kind of talked about some of that. Some of the things that you can't predict is if a chiller goes out of a large system or something like that, we can project on what we know is coming down the pipe. Looking at the high school, we know we're getting ready to spend about $600,000, $700,000 on roofs for those high schools in the next 3 or 4 years. It's coming. That's coming. With the other schools, if you think about a school like a Booker T, that big investment would be something like a roof. After that, you probably wouldn't have any major thing that might come up, but you never can tell what might go out, the HVAC system or the boiler, whatever it may be. But what we'll do is, I have Mr. Nealon to kind of look at, really I think we need the projections for all of the schools, because we do have a lot of that information we'll update it so we can see what that would look like over the next few years. Major system going out, just normal things that we have to fix all the time.
With the major issue with the older schools, the electrical.
Yes.
Well, we need to find out what it would take to get the electrical up to the standards it needs to be.
And I think we may already have.
Some of that was in it, in the combined report. I mean, it's a pretty rough estimate, but it's really probably pretty good, because they thought a pretty good mechanical engineering group down there with me. And that was not just looking at it as something that you might expand, but just flat out saying it's not even up to code because of the age of the school. So anything you do, even just making the school better, is gonna stress that system anymore. But a lot of that is in the facility study portion of, which is kind of the longer version before they came out with a short recommendation.
I'll look at that.
Any other,
Have you thought about it? A lot more about the court said that Clarkton is so big. So where would you find land in Clarkton to build?
Well, we got a couple of options, and that is a good question. If you look at Booker T, there's a large amount of land that's behind the school that could accommodate, 80,000 square foot facility. The same thing with Clarkton, that you got the athletic field portion of that area. So you'd be able to construct a facility there. So one of the questions you have to ask is that if you put it on the Clarkton site, then what do you do with the current structure? And that is where the sentimentality, if you will, also gets involved. Regardless of what we decide to do, at any point we build a new facility, then those remaining facilities, we either need to get out of the business of owning those facilities, or you may have to look at demolition.
That's where I was going. Have you figured the demolition cost if you had to go that route?
No, we'd have to calculate that individually. Now, one of the things I would say is that because we put a new roof on Booker T, and because we don't really have any training space, we used to use extended hope for that purpose. We don't have any of that now, so we have to go out and tussle with schools and use their media centers and everything else. So that would be a facility that would be in relatively good condition to allow us to do training as a district and other things that we can't currently do, that we used to do at extended hope. So that would be a building you probably would want to look at and maintain. Clarkton would be a much larger building. It would be probably a much larger footprint than we want. You could look at keeping the new portion of the building. The newer portion of Clarkton, I think it was constructed in '87, was it? Somewhere around that time. So you got a new portion, but then you got the older portion that was done in the 40s. So those are the kind of decisions that we have to make about what do we do with those facilities. And that is certainly where we would want input from the community as well. But very good point.
let's go back to Tar Heel. We were talking about transferring children from Plainview to Dublin. Tar Heel building is old. Tell us about that.
Exact same thing. That my suggestion would be that you build a K-8 school in Tar Heel that would accommodate Tar Heel Middle School and Plainview Primary. And then and again, I don't think that the community of Dublin would be willing to give their school up. You're talking about going 7 miles to Tar Heel, outskirts of wherever you decide to put it, to a brand new building. Well, I don't think they would probably want to do that at this point. So my thing would be build a new building, K-8, in Tar Heel. If you're looking at a 500 facility, a 500 student facility, I think that's great. You'd certainly be able to make plans where you can extend that building by adding additional classrooms. Most designs kind of come with that now. As we know, Tar Heel and Clarkton, they're some of our oldest buildings, and they cost a tremendous amount to maintain. What did we just have to happen over there? It was, what line was it that collapsed?
Which one?
At Tar Heel.
That was a water line.
Yeah, water, they had a problem with the water line, we had to fix that. We had the drainage system that collapsed, that takes rainwater out to the Cape Fear River maybe 2 or 3 years ago, cost us about $40,000. So there's always something that's going wrong that as soon as you fix one thing, there's something else that you got to fix. In my opinion, And as my grandmother would say, you're throwing good money after bad, you know. Is that actually bad money after good or something like that? You're throwing away good money. There you go. So that would be my thing is that, that's an old facility and, all it's gonna do is continue to cause us to have to pay money. You know, we spent, been about 6 years now, about $1 million to redo the floor. And you see that now you're starting to see the same, giving in the floor. And, you know, it's,
So you're telling us that it's the worst school in the county, right?
I would say it's the oldest building that we have. And like old things, they require a lot more attention than young things.
So since it requires a lot more attention, we need to start thinking about that area more than anything else.
That'd be up to the board, but I would certainly say it should be at the top of the list. Because it's an old building.
Well, I think on the DPI report, it stated that Tario, the structure was bad, but Clark's electrical was leaking, so it was kind of.
See someone in there and doing
We can fix the electric quicker than we can fix the structure. Other comments?
I just think we need new facilities.
I agree with you.
I really do. I mean, you know, companies probably would like to come to Bladen County and open up shop, and then they take a look at our facilities at our schools, and they don't want to come. They can go to, you know, Cumberland County or wherever they have, or Hope County, where they have nice new school facilities where their children can go, and that's where they go.
And since Tar Heel is already in the county,
Yeah.
most people come from that way, we ought to start there, right?
Yeah, I would think you would want to start there.
No.
Yeah, I would think so.
Let's start there and finish the clock.
Okay, thanks so
I
much.
mean, I don't think we ever finish. That's the thing, we don't ever finish.
We gotta have a starting point.
We gotta have a starting point,
Gotta have a
and we just
starting
keep on building.
So, any other comments? We know we gotta start someplace. And what is the recommendation of the board for where we're moving to?
I recommend on your forms to get posted.
Recommendation?
I think you need to, go to the county commissioners.
Can we do it sort of like this, make contact with the county commission, in letter form or whatever, because we have the written information shared with them and begin to find out what the public is really interested in. We can share with the county commission in that form in the next day or two, so we can move forward to get out and listen to what the constituents have to say.
Mr. Chair, if you would allow me to do so, Commissioner of the Board, what I will do is get on the commissioners, because they just had they were first and third, right?
That's actually not.
Okay, this is not, so I would look to get on their meeting on the third and try to get on that agenda. Put some numbers together, share with you as a chair, and go and share that with the commissioners and kind of get some feedback from them, let them know what it is that we're thinking, and let them know we're thinking of moving. And at that point, we'll see what it is that they have to say.
Okay, education is so critical. Do you think that it's possible for you to get with the county commission, ask them that, have a special session, they got some other things they need to talk about?
Absolutely.
So we can't, squeeze this in, get started. You don't mind, sir?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
All right.
Chair, there's a motion on the floor, we will amend, I would like to amend the motion that we first check with county commissioners, then we proceed with the form.
It's been moved properly second that we, the amendment to the motion that we check the county commission first and then the form start. Any discussion?
Will this form that we have, is that part of the general statute that
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
we have to abide by?
Well, and I'll let,
Or is this
council
just a-
talk with this, yeah.
Or is this just a information session, is I guess is what I'm asking?
And Mr. Grant, I'll give it to you, but it kind of depends on what you're doing. And I'll say this and let him correct me, because I'll probably mess it up a little bit. But if you're talking about consolidation, then the statute requires that you have a form as a part of that. Now, that may be different when it comes to totally new construction.
Well, you're still closing the school.
Right.
You're still closing the school, so, no, I think you would have to have.
In addition to session.
Yeah, and are we gonna have one form, or are we gonna have a form at the communities that
Community.
that are being affected?
In effect. In addition discussion. In addition discussion, ready to vote. All in favor, let it be known by the signs of aye. What's your for the county commission between now and third week of February 2017? Hopefully by our next board meeting, we can start working on it. Anything else that we need to share about our facilities this evening? If not, we'll move into our next section. Get a motion to go to closed session for the purpose of discussing North Carolina. General Statute 143, Chapter 18, 21, consulting with the attorney general. The North Carolina Statute 143, 1811, and discuss student assignment and student district for the 1974 Right.